Good evening. The opinions and statements voiced by our guests do not necessarily reflect the opinions of this network. Enjoy the shows.
You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, Birmingham, Alabama.
Headline edition, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army. Army officers say the missile, found sometime last week, has been inspected at Roswell, New Mexico, and sent to Wright Field, Ohio, for further inspection.
Now, historic films made in the spring of 1948 and just released show Eniwetok preparing for heavily guarded and still largely secret tests of new atomic weapons. The test's purpose is to measure atomic effects on thousands of different materials, 30,000 tons of them, not, as at Bikini, to prove military effectiveness.
San Francisco police say that 9 persons have been arrested in a narcotics raid on the headquarters of the Grateful Dead, a widely popular singing group. 2 members of the group, Rod McKernan and Robert Weir, and their business manager, Danny Rifkin, have been booked on suspicion of possessing narcotics.
3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff. 32 minutes past the hour. Liftoff on Apollo 11. Tower cleared.
We got a roll program. Neil Armstrong reporting the roll and pitch program, which puts Apollo 11 on a proper heading.
I'm going to step off the limb now. That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
Well, strange lights are causing a viral buzz on YouTube. Could we have caught extraterrestrial activity on a recent newscast? Brandon Arroyo investigates.
As the newscast ended, the controversy began back on September 26th. What is that light shining in the back of the dark night sky?
With coverage reaching all the way back to 1948, for over 70 years, Fate magazine has brought you reports of the strange and unknown, all of them true. Now, Fate Magazine Radio is carrying on that tradition of setting the standard in paranormal talk radio as we report and discuss some of the most mysterious and perplexing phenomena imaginable in this strange world of ours. Now, here is your host of Fate Magazine Radio, Kat Hobson.
Hello there. Welcome to Fate Mag Radio, the online voice of Fate Magazine. I am so glad that you're joining us because this is going to be a rocking show. I just love having a chance to talk to my friends. But before we go any further, I do want to say that a lot of y'all know that Gulf Shores is my second home. And we had a little bit of a catastrophe, that's saying lightly, that a Category 2 hurricane made a dogleg right and came ashore in my town. Ivan did that 16 years ago to the day, but he was a Cat 3. And he hit a little bit farther along the beach at the state park rather than right at my house. So we're blessed. We still have a house. Our neighbors, only one person in our area immediate seemed to be missing a roof, but the flooding was epic. And our little quaint fishing village with a beautiful, beautiful area was really devastated. It's called Orange Beach, Alabama. It's beautiful. And then, of course, as I put on my posts the other day, everybody west, on the west side of a hurricane, that's called the dirty side. And all the way to Pensacola, up through northern Florida, going into, Bruton, Alabama, going into Georgia, and my daughter in the Carolinas said, yeah, that's coming here too. So we shared that experience. But if you could just please keep those areas in your thoughts, and if you see something that says, please help the hurricane people, then, because they don't consider themselves victims, everyone there chooses to live there. And it's a blessing to be able to. If I could do it full time, I would. But, grandchildren. So anyway, I just wanted to say that, and just to let all of our listeners in that area, and there are several, although they don't have power right now, know that we love them and we care. So that being said, I have somebody on tonight that is going to rock your socks. Rick McCallum is the founder of Hollywood Ghost Hunters. He is one of the best people I know. He is a stuntman and a stunt coordinator. He is a SAG-AFTRA actor. He has been in so many movies, I've lost count. And I don't even watch horror movies. So I don't like watching my friends get chopped up and stuff. Or chopping people. Usually, they're monsters. But at any rate, I'm very fortunate to be able to call this man friend. He is, he's a dynamo. And he has done something that I think is astounding, because I've been trying to do it and I'm not there yet. And that is that he has published his book. It is called Ghosts Believe in Me, Playing Monsters by Day, Seeking Spirits at Night. And I'm going to tell you, it's fantastic. How do I know? Because I read it before you did. I kid. But I did get to read it. And I am so excited for you, Rick. Thank you so much for being here.
Well, I have to tell you that the book would not be anywhere near as good as it is without your help. I mean, you helped me redesign the cover. You wrote the foreword. So the least I could do was let you read it beforehand.
Right. Well, I had to know what I was going to be talking about in the foreword.
That's true. That is true. And I think that was so nice of you doing a shout out for your pals from the hurricane.
Well, they have been working diligently since it came through. First, to make sure that all of their neighbors were safe, because it is a small community. Both towns, Gulf Shores and Orange Beach, are only separated by the state park. They're the same community. And it's just something that when I looked up and saw, because I'm an early riser, and when I looked up and saw the radar, I was just dumbfounded, because that did happen 16 years ago to the day, Rick. I mean, absolutely. Almost the exact same time of landfall. So it was just one of those things that make you go, holy wow. But, we are a resilient people. Everyone is, when they feel they should. So I think it's going to be okay. It's just going to take time.
Well, I hope so.
Me too, because you still got to come down there. We have to go and hunt the Pensacola Lighthouse. We have to go and hunt Fort Morgan. We have to go and Fort Pickett. I mean, there's so many places that you haven't seen yet, and the lighthouse is the bomb. It is so active.
Is that the St. Augustine lighthouse?
No, that's on the Atlantic coast. This is on the Florida Gulf Coast in Pensacola, Florida. And it's actually on the NAS Pensacola, the Naval Air Station. And
that's cool.
Yeah, it's the home of the Blue Angels, and they fly by like if you were up in the top of the lighthouse, they do flybys when they're doing their exhibitions or their practices. It's so much fun.
Wow, that'd be cool to watch.
It is so
That'd be fun to watch.
Yes, it would. But
I got to get down to Florida, and I was actually invited to the St. Augustine lighthouse, about 8 years ago. We weren't getting down that direction, you know.
You should have adjusted your priorities, my friend.
What are you, my mom now? Come on.
Hey, I've got experience at that, right?
So. That's true. That is true.
But, well, I want you to tell people, because I know why, but not everybody knows why. You decided to share all of these experiences because you have been all kinds of places. And I want to give a shout out. I'll let you do it, to your friends. But because they are staying up into the wee hours of the morning to listen to you.
Oh, well, let me do give them a shout out, but let me explain this. I actually had fallen in love with Scotland. It's my ancestry is from there, and my whole life I'd always had an urge to go there. And once I got there, I realized why. I mean, it's just a fantastic place. The people are really, really nice. I mean, they're so nice. It's actually, you kind of think they're going to kill you and eat you. You know, some sort of plot. They're so nice. But I was lucky to get introduced to a ghost hunting group called Scottish Paranormal. And they have they have taken me on several hunts. I mean, many hunts together. And these guys, I like to brag about it because I'm an honorary member of them now. These guys are about as professional and as world-class a group as you're going to find. And the one thing that really gets me, and I mean, it's amazing, right there in the middle of, I believe it's Wemyss, they have a research center that's right on the main street of town. And you can actually walk in the door on Mondays. I think they have open days on Mondays. And, if you have audio you want them to check, they'll do that. Ryan O'Neill is awesome with the audio. Then you've got Gregor Stewart and Kyle. Kyle is a world-class photographer.
Yes,
Kyle
he
Stewart.
is.
Gregor is really good with the video and the audio and great. And every one of them is a great ghost hunter. So, I'm really lucky to have met up with them. Allie Reed, who has a cafe over there, which I am not too ashamed to say that I go over there and join up there as much as I can. And he actually made a burger and named it after me and put it in his Haunted Scotland cookbook.
Yes,
so,
he did. And that's a swinging, absolutely swinging.
Hey, I might not ever win an Oscar, but I got a burger named after me, and that's hard to beat.
Especially that burger.
Oh, boy, that burger was, without a doubt, the most outstanding hamburger I've ever had. But, yeah, they have taken me to so many different places. I've ghost hunted all through Scotland with them. We went on a trip to Hellfire Club in Dublin, and then we went on to Lep Castle. And that was quite a trip, that Ireland trip, all of it.
One of the things that I do know is how much they respect you and how much they respect your ability. And, it is one of the things that I think is so funny, and sometimes it's so frustrating, is when you're like, well, my superpower is that people are nice to me. And it is one of them.
Well, no, it really is my superpower.
No, it is a superpower. But one of your superpowers is the fact that people respond to you like that because you are that way toward everyone. I mean,
well, that is true, too.
It is not something that is just a weird thing that happens. It is a reciprocal relationship. So, and that's really cool, in my opinion.
Well, I have kind of a theory of why that's like that, though.
Well, do tell.
Well, years ago, when I first started actually formally ghost hunting when there was equipment, I actually started when I was 13, which, for most people don't know me, is a long time ago, right? But I was one of those people that would go in and, I was macho ghost hunter. I would like, why you come out here, you coward, blah, 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 blah. And very seldom had anything happen.
Right.
And then I was just sitting there one day, and I thought, you know what? If we go with the idea that spirits were people who passed away, that means they have their own personalities. And how would I feel if somebody came into my house and started calling me names and yelling at me? Would I want them to stay? No. Right?
Did you help them out the door? Yes.
Yes, quickly, and while they were still in the air. but I decided that I had to open myself up in so many ways, not just ghost hunting, but just as a human. And it's, once I started doing that, I mean, I walk into places and I can feel the spirits, not always. Sometimes they surprise me, but most of the time I can feel spirits. And, the Scottish paranormal guys will tell you, I'll walk into places where they never get anything and everything all of a sudden start saying hello to me. And my friend Jill Allen Padavesi, who was the haunted lockdown director for the Pioneer Saloon right outside Vegas, I've been there half a dozen times, and every single time I've been there, the spirits have called out my name. So, I mean, it's just, I think once you open yourself up, and you and I talked about this one time about the internal vibration everybody has.
Yes.
I think when you open yourself up, it makes your vibration much more attractive to spirits. However, there is a downside. And that is when you open yourself up, it makes it easier for things you don't want to get in to get in.
And that's hard to protect against unless you're very well versed in that.
Yeah, it is. It is hard to open yourself up and invite things to come in because, it's like having free beer, at a frat party. You never know who's showing up.
True.
So, I have paid the price on that twice by, opening up so much. So, it's a double-edged sword. It's really great, and it really helps with the people you meet. I mean, to be really open. I mean, I get more friends that way. I have people walk up to in the grocery store and just start talking to me, which I'm all in favor of because I love talking to people.
Well, they respond similarly.
Yeah, it's funny. They seem to, and I don't want to sound arrogant or anything, but I mean, I was at Scarefest. Now, in my group, there's Kane Hodder, who plays Jason Voorhees in the Friday the 13th movies, mega famous horror star. The other guy that I ghost hunt with is Ari Mihailoff, who played Leatherface in Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3. When I ask R.A. which one was he, and he always goes, the best one.
Yes, he does.
But, and then my booth was down from them. Now you go, I've been in like 75 movies and a lot of horror movies, but you wouldn't know that anybody would know me because I'm either the monster or I get dispatched quickly, right? I'm either under a ton of foam.
In gruesome ways, too. It's like,
Well, Hatchet 2 was the most gruesome way, but what really surprised me is how many people came back the next year, my second year, after meeting them the first year. I mean, I probably had 150 people stop in to see me the first year, and I mean, it had to be triple or more than that the next year. I mean, they're just, and wherever I'd walk through, the Rick. So it was really cool that I made a lot of connections with a lot of really nice people. So that's kind of the way I feel about the Scottish paranormal guys. Not only are they really nice and they're my friends, but they are so qualified. It is a pleasure to ghost hunt with them. And by the way, Kat Hobson, it was a pleasure ghost hunting with you too.
I know, right? That's so much fun. And it was so weird because we were connected as we were doing it, and I didn't expect that.
Yeah, that was strange. Brian Ingerman also was standing with us, and he was like, whoa! So that's another person who's a friend of mine now from Scarefest. And by the way, Scarefest is not this year because the building is just destroyed. I mean, they tore it to pieces and everything else. So if anybody's looking for a really good horror and paranormal convention to go to next year in Kentucky, look up Scarefest because it is a hoot. Matter of fact, that's where I met one of my very best friends, Kat Hobson.
It is indeed. And that was so much fun because it was just, you run into those people, you feel like you've known each other for decades or at least lifetimes maybe. And it's just such a good blend because it was immediate.
Well, you know what? Not too many people think the way we do.
That's true. I think the world's probably cool with that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the world probably voted on that.
Hey, look, we've got to take a quick break, and then we are going to be back. And I know that we were a little late getting started because all things were not functioning. So we're fixing that. But we are going to be taking in the full show, and it's going to be a blast. So y'all come right back.
You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, Birmingham, Alabama.
Paratalk Radio is your one-stop for all things paranormal, the unknown, and the supernatural. Join us every Monday night at 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central for discussions and guests on topics such as ghosts, hauntings, Bigfoot, UFOs, and more. This broadcast is rated M for mature and intended for listeners over 16 on paratalkradio.com.
Oh, come on. I'm Southern, but... Nope. That'll do. Hello. I am Kat Hobson, host of Paranormal Experience here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. I enjoy having guests from all areas of the paranormal, from ghosts to ufology to cryptids and beyond. You'll find some of the best researchers in their fields bringing you some great information. Join me on Wednesday nights from 8 to 10 p. Eastern here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
Since 1948, Fate magazine has brought you reports of the strange and unknown, all of them true. Fate Radio is carrying on that tradition, bringing you the unusual, macabre, strange, and bizarre. Join host Kat Hobson Sunday nights from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
Thank you for listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama.
Since 1948, Fate magazine has brought you reports of the strange and unknown, all of them true. Fate Radio is carrying on that tradition, bringing you the unusual, macabre, strange, and bizarre. Join host Kat Hobson Sunday nights from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
The time is 23 minutes after the hour. Welcome back to Fate Mag Radio. I am Kat, your host, and I am joined by my friend Rick McCallum. And I am so glad we have Sherry and Denise, and I'm sure other people in chat. I just can't see them right here. But I am tickled because Sherry said that, she reminded me about Short Mountain. And we have investigated more than just in Kentucky. That was in Tennessee, outside of Nashville. So
yeah, that was pretty fun too.
That was a lot of fun. I thought that was a neat place. But she was commenting on a pic that she got, and I was like, yes. We were holding each other up. So that was, we both got bad knees at about the same time.
Well, you have to explain that a little better, because when, in my evil mind, when somebody says we were holding each other up, they were hugging each other.
Oh. Well, no, this was just arm's length, but you go ahead and do it better.
Is Kat had a bad knee, and I had just fallen in the forest over investigating in Scotland, and actually now need a knee replacement. So my knee was shot. Hers was just as equally bad. And we started walking from where we were all meeting, and there was a steep hill going down. And we just kind of looked at each other like...
Gravel. It was gravel.
So I just looked at her and I said, well, between the two of us, we got 3 good legs. So let's see, set this up so we each got enough legs to walk with. So we're like hanging on to each other to make sure we could stay up.
And then Michelle was trying to make sure we didn't crash. But
yeah, it was funny. You know, it was really cool when I went to the Hellfire Club in Dublin with Scottish Paranormal. For those who don't know, it's about a mile, I would say, up this steep hill. And I knew that there's no way that my leg is going to let me climb up anything that steep. I mean, I walk all the time, and I go walk the hills over here. But this was like mountain goat stuff. But they had a trail, and fortunately, Jonathan Garraway and Gregor Stewart. Jonathan Garraway, by the way, makes these really great spirit boxes, and he's really good at making apps. Ryan O'Neill is really good at making apps too, by the way. You guys, anybody out there, go to Scottish Paranormal and check those guys out because they're some of the nicest people you'll meet.
They are the nicest people you'll meet.
Hey, anybody names a burger after you, I mean, you got to think they're pretty cool.
Well, yeah.
But that's just the way they are. But forgot where I was going with that. My mind wandered away. You know, little things are easy to misplace. But no, yes, we have ghost hunted twice, and that was pretty cool. But I know where I was at, Hellfire Club.
There you go.
We finally get all the way up to the top because we went like this access road that was still real steep, but we finally get up there, and man, oh man, it's I don't even know how we would have gotten down, but just to show you how nice they were, 2 of them walked with me up the hill, you know, which was farther. And on the way back, Eileen Murray took it upon herself because it was starting to rain. The other guys wanted to get to the truck as fast as they could. Took it upon herself to walk next to me as we were going down. And she was like my bodyguard. She was like, you know, waiting to catch me. And she was like, a little girl. I mean, she's small. I mean, if I fell, I'd just squish her.
She is so nice, and I'll bet she's fierce.
Well, if she's from Scotland, you know, she lives there. They're fierce. I mean, they're the ones that went out and attacked the, you know, horses and everything else barehanded. I mean, the Scottish people are not the ones you want to invade.
No. They don't respond well to that.
No, they really don't. I think it's because they wear kilts all the time, and you know their heinies are cold, so they're usually in a bad mood when fighting comes around. But there has been. I know the people want to hear about the ghost hunting, but I've been to so many famous places, and it's been fantastic. If anybody has any questions about any famous places, there's a good chance I've been there, or I'm going to go there because I definitely have to go to Gettysburg. Because
yes, you did.
Two real good friends of mine both said that's the place I got to go. And that was Nick Groff and what was that girl's name? Oh, Kat Hobson. So, yeah, that's another place I want to go.
You have a question.
Let her rip.
Have you investigated Dracula's castle? And I know that's a sore subject, but they don't know why. Or is she just thinking that you mentioned he wants to?
No, actually, when my book came out, I had to have it all printed and formatted and everything else. And I was going with Scottish Paranormal to Romania to ghost hunt Dracula's castle. So it says in the book, in the list of notable places we've been, it's in there. Well, COVID hit, and I didn't get to go. And nobody got to go. So that's one place that we are going again when we can get to. So I have not actually been there. That's the one it's a bald-faced lie. But it was
it's just the one that got away. You'll get there.
It was an unintentional bald-faced lie. So that was that. But yeah, I'm looking forward to that. We were supposed to go to 3 places: the castle, his burial place, and another place. And I think that would be pretty cool.
Well, and Lori said that you need to go to the Ohio State Reformatory And actually, he's been to the Ohio State Reformatory because that's one of his experiences. And the old Paulding Jail. But I've been telling you that for months.
I got to go to Old Paulding Jail. There's no doubt about that. I actually was watching Portals to Hell, and lo and behold, I saw Cat Hobson at the Old Paulding Jail. So I had to call up and say, hey, what's the deal here?
Because it's an awesome place.
Yeah, I want to go there for sure. Who was the person who asked the question?
Her name is Lori.
Well, that's actually where the Hollywood Ghost Hunters got started, was at Ohio State Reformatory. Kane and I and R.A. were all working on a horror movie called Fallen Angels, and R.A. was only there for a very short time. Matter of fact, I had to double him in a scene later on because they forgot they had that, and he was already gone, so I ended up doubling him because we were all in makeup. It didn't really make any difference. But we had some really interesting things that happened at Old South Pittsburgh, and that's where I found out that, not Old South Pittsburgh, the Ohio State Reformatory. I always refer to it as Mansfield.
I do too.
But that is where we started the Hollywood Ghost Hunters, because I found out that Kane, who is no shrinking violet by any means, liked to ghost hunt. And everybody else that I ghost hunted with beforehand, I always wanted to have a group. But everybody else I ever went with, they would tiptoe, and if a bug would burp, off they went. Backwards, boom.
Yeah.
They didn't want anybody that was going backwards. I wanted someone to go forwards. And from that night, I saw Kane was a forward-going guy. So I said, we got to start a ghost hunting group, and we did.
And leave them hanging. It's Hollywood Ghost Hunters.
Yeah, that's us.
And you have been all kinds of places, and you have been on television programs and radio programs. You're just all over the place, and now you've got this wonderful book.
Yeah, well, that's cool. Yeah, I think the two things that really, really helped our group, to be honest with you, the first thing was being on Coast to Coast AM.
Yes.
The night after we were first on Coast to Coast AM, I looked at my website, and we had 34,000 people that hit it that day, and the next day, 17,000 more.
Holy wow.
Yeah, Coast to Coast, is a very powerful entity for when it comes to the paranormal. I mean, if you want to listen to paranormal, Coast to Coast is right there.
Well, I'm going to tell you that I have been featured on there, and it was such a great experience. And I did not realize that was what your numbers had jumped to just from your experience there. So yeah, that's pretty amazing.
Well, they've got a real professional organization. The producer, Tom Danheiser,
mm-hmm.
You start off with him, and he makes sure everything's set up, and it's always set up right. And then you get to go, talk to George. And George is a pleasure to be interviewed by. I mean, he is. He's the ultimate professional. So, I mean, it's a great show. I listen to it all the time, and I've been lucky enough to have been on it a few times. So I think that was the first thing that really helped us. And the second thing was us being on Ghost Adventures, which also got some pretty big numbers on the old website. So, yeah, that was those two things actually got our group more well-known.
Well, which one did you come out with the more new people, the radio or the television? Because I know
radio,
coast-to-coast numbers. So,
well, the radio, because we were brand new. We were on Coast to Coast before we were on Ghost Adventures.
Right.
So we were the new kid on the block on Coast to Coast. But a lot of people who would have been listening to Coast had already heard about us by the time we got to Ghost Adventures.
Right.
So, but yeah, they were pretty similar in how many people were hitting the site. So I'm happy being on both of those. And by the way, every time somebody meets me that knows I've been on Ghost Adventures wants to say something to me about Zach. And I got to tell you, Zach is one of the smartest people I've ever met. He's one of the nicest people I've ever met. And if you come up to me and you want to say something untoward about Zach, you're probably not going to like the answer. So, you know,
well, you know my opinion on him. I don't have any problem with him personally. I just think that he has so many followers, so many people who want to be him and want to be like him, want to do what he does. And sometimes he does things that I think are not the best or the safest practices. And kids don't realize that he has people who can help him if he gets into a situation. And not everybody does. I mean, I don't travel with my own exorcist, right? And I don't know that he does, but I think he should if he doesn't. But, you know, he's very strong. He's been doing it for decades. And, you know, and he is very smart. He's a good businessman. He is not acting when he's doing his things, but he's very theatrical because he was a theater major. That's natural to him. And,
well, the other thing is, too, you're also on television.
Yes.
You know, I mean.
But people want to emulate that. People want to emulate him because he's their hero. And
he's not a bad guy to emulate. You know, he's not a bad guy to emulate. I mean, but you have to pick and choose.
He gets results.
Which parts you want to emulate.
Yeah.
You know,
I would want to emulate his business acumen.
You know what's really funny? Hollywood Ghost Hunters magazine, which, by the way, is going to be coming out after I get to go to this one place in Oregon that I'm waiting on to write about for the magazine. But it has a really good cover story coming up. And I'll tell you about that in a second. But going back to Zach, Zach was the first person that I called up to interview for my magazine to get it going. And I probably wrote 2,500 to 3,000 words. And whenever I do an interview, I always let them read it before I publish it, and they can change anything they want because it's about them and not about me.
Right.
Well, I sent it to Zach, and I would say within less than 5 minutes, he'd already read it, had already made the changes he wanted, and sent it back. I was like, wow, this guy is smart, you know? So, but the big thing, this is a big reveal here. I hadn't thought of this, but this has got to be mentioned. The very next interview in the magazine is going to be Dead Files' Steve DeShavi. He's the cover story. And this is the first cover story that I didn't write. So I wanted to find somebody that was, you know, a good interviewer. So I actually asked this unknown person that nobody knows, Kat Hobson. So Kat is the one who actually interviewed Steve DeShavi for the magazine, and that'll be coming out. Who knows when they're going to finally let me up to the inn in Oregon because of the way things are right now.
I'm going to have to start paying you for all this promotional work you're doing. I really appreciate it. I'll bake you brownies.
Well, let's be honest. I mean, I was looking on my Facebook, and I think you hit every paranormal website except for two that were in Abu Dhabi promoting this. So
I hit one of those. Abu Dhabi.
No, did you? Yeah. The other one might have been in Bahrain, but yeah, that was pretty cool. You know, I am so fortunate. I have a weird personality that, you know, generally opens doors for me. Like, I've actually called up people that are in famous, you know, ghost hunting establishments that are hard to get in. And I've actually called them up and say, hey, I'm Rick with the Hollywood Ghost Hunters, and I'm going to ghost hunt your place. I'm going to do it for free, and you're going to be happy I did. And I always go, what? Really? Why? I said, because I'm going to do a cover article about you for my magazine. And then it's like, oh, well, okay then. So yes. I've been lucky. And I've been lucky in everything. I've gotten so many wonderful people do things for me. It's my superpower.
There you go. Has nothing to do with you, returning the behaviors. But
well, I try to.
I know you do a good job. You know,
actually, I don't try to. my nature.
It is your nature. Well, we have questions. So
let her in. I love
I
questions.
do want to, before we go any further, one of our regular listeners, April, is having an appendectomy tomorrow. And she is really, really awesome. So if we could just keep her in mind and pray for her, then, or chant or flow or whatever it is that you do, I'm sure she will appreciate all of it. And
well, I'm definitely going to do at least one of those.
Yes. Okay. Now, we've only got 2.5 minutes, so if you can't answer this in that length of time, we will do it, but after the break. But what's your favorite place in the U.S. that you've investigated? Not Scotland, LOL. And who is it with?
I think I can do that. My favorite place to ghost hunt was probably Waverly Sanatorium, actually. I was there with Kane, Steve Nappy, a couple other guys from our group. R.A. wasn't there for that. But that place was just off the charts. I mean, where we were going. I actually heard singing in the death tunnel, which was weird because it sounded like the chanting of when they walked behind the hearses in the New Orleans funerals. I had somebody touch me, and then they touched the girl that was hunting with me, and then she saw a shadow run into a room, and I went after it, and I run into the room, and this horrible growl was there, and I thought, I looked around, there's no dogs, it's a small room. And I looked, and the girl and Barry Blaisdell, who's a member, was there. And I looked at them, and their eyes were like pie plates. And I looked at them, I said, "Did you hear that?" And they said, "Yeah, we did." And I said, "What the hell was that?" Right? I mean, it wasn't like grr. It was like rawr. I was like, holy! I thought a guard dog was in there, was getting ready to rip my leg off. So Waverly was really cool. And there was more things happened to that, but your 2.5 minutes are probably up.
Got about 40 seconds left.
Oh, well, and I got time to throw a little bit more in there. When we had the music in the death tunnel, I said, hang on, and we scooted back up the tunnel because I thought somebody was playing the radio at the top of the tunnel. So we get up there, and there's absolutely nobody there, but I see a car coming. So the car pulls up, and the guy gets out. I said, "Were you playing your radio?" And he goes, "Oh, no, I wasn't." And he says, I said, "Did you see anybody?" And he goes, "No." I was like, okay. So, I mean, we checked, and nobody there.
I think that was just wild. And
by the way, the lady that runs the place, Tina Mattingly, is adorable. She is a real sweetheart. She was so nice to me, took us around, gave us the whole big tour, let us have access. So, I mean, real sweetheart. Well, Tina Mattingly, my group loves you.
A lot of people do. She is pretty special. But we will be right back, and y'all come back too.
You're listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk, only on Paranormal Experience Radio, broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama.
Oh, come on. I'm Southern, but... Nope. That'll do. Hello. I am Kat Hobson, host of Paranormal Experience here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. I enjoy having guests from all areas of the paranormal, from ghosts to ufology to cryptids and beyond. You'll find some of the best researchers in their fields bringing you some great information. Join me on Wednesday nights from 8 to 10 p. Eastern here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
This is Jason Bland, host of Midwest Paranormal Presents Paranormal Soup, where we stream live as a webcast every Sunday night, 11 p.m. to 2 a.m. Eastern, with guests who will blow your mind. Live ghost box sessions where you can call into the show to see if the spirits will talk to you, and the World Wide Web of Weird with the latest in paranormal news and evidence. We're bringing the weird every Sunday night, 11 p.m. to 2 a.m. Eastern on our Facebook page and YouTube channel. Don't forget to follow and subscribe.
You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk only on Paranormal Experience Radio. Broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama.
Thank you for listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. The time is 45 minutes after the hour. Welcome back to Fate Mag Radio. I'm Kat Hobson, your host, and I am joined tonight by Rick McCallum, who is just my new publicist from now until forever. But I am so glad that you're here because you have had so many exciting adventures and some recent. But we have a question for you, and that is, what has kept you busy since the virus?
Writing the book.
Truth.
And ghost hunting. Just because, there's a pandemic doesn't mean there ain't places I can go where there's nobody at. I mean, I'm kind of well known for going and just ghost hunting at places by myself, which is wonderful, but can have, bad repercussions, because there is a place in Scotland, in Roslin, right down from Roslin Chapel, it's about a mile and a half down, where they had the Battle of Roslin in 1303, and the Scottish fought the English, and William Wallace brought his forces to the fight. And I wanted to go out into the fields late at night, so I went walking around during the day trying to find the best place to get in, because they're huge fields, I mean, as big as you can imagine. And I'm walking over this one hill. I was out there during the daytime. I was walking over this one hill, and there was mud under the ground. And my left foot went flying up in the air, and my right foot got caught facing down, and I slammed my knee shut and landed on it. And I weigh 240 pounds. I'm not Tinkerbell. I mean, I put a lot of force on that thing. And I hate to sound, like I'm trying to make it bigger than it was, but I'm not, because I've had 5 other knee operations, so I know what it feels like. This one felt like my knee exploded. I mean, everything just went... And I laid there in the mud with my leg behind me spasming. So I had to roll over in the mud, grab my leg, and get it in front of me. And I sat there for about 5 minutes till I could get up. And I mean, I could put only, maybe a pound of pressure on my feet, on my one foot. And I turned around and I looked, and I said, no way I'm getting up that muddy hill. So what am I going to do now? So I looked around. There was a muddy trail that went quite a ways. It looked like miles straight ahead, but it was flat. I said, I don't know where it goes, but I got to go that way. So off I went. And I was lucky enough to, this was the hard part. I had muddy shoes. My leg was, done. As bad as it could get. I get over there. It's actually a farm, and there's 2 of those horse gates, the cattle gates. And I had to climb over those to keep going, which I'm glad nobody was filming that. But I finally walked around in front of this, and there was a street, and I saw a guy washing his dishes. So I just hollered to him over the hedge, right? And I said, hey, and he goes, yeah. And he sees me. I'm covered in mud. I'm limping. Right? I'm surprised he didn't shoot me in the head thinking I was the Walking Dead. But I asked him if I could find a bus back to Roslin if I kept walking. And he goes, yeah, you can. It's that way, but it's a little bit. And I said, okay, thank you. And I started, limping down the street. I got maybe 75 yards, I guess, and this car pulls up, and it's the guy, and he goes, get in, right? And I looked at him, and I said, man, I really appreciate it, but I'm covered in mud. And he starts laughing. He goes, I run the farm you just walked behind. Get in, right? So I get into the car, and he drives me back to my hotel, and this shows you how cool the people are in Scotland. He actually turned the car around and came over and pulled up on my side of the street at the inn I was staying in so I could get out right next to the door. So sometimes ghost hunting by yourself is, it can be dangerous. So
it can be.
I kind of think that scuba diving and ghost hunting is probably about the same. You should do it at least in pairs.
I would agree with that. I think that you have the physical aspect, such as you experienced, but there actually is a spiritual impact as well that you can get into something that you're unaware of or not well versed in.
Boy, when you get to the part about Lep Castle, if that doesn't say about that, I don't know.
Well, that was extreme.
I don't think I've ever even heard of a more extreme case than that. And I don't want to give it away, for the people that have bought the book. But I really am convinced I was just moments away from being dead. So I'll let you read it, figure it out for yourself. And let me say one thing about the book. One thing I always try to do in the book, when there's a story I'm giving, if there's somebody else that was there and witnessed it, I put them in the book with their version of what they saw. So it's not just me saying stuff, the whole thing. I actually have other people saying stuff, which I think adds some legitimacy to the book.
I agree. And it's neat to get a different perspective.
Yeah. And it's, if you read it, I mean, they're pretty much exactly the same, except for what happened at Hellfire Club. The only thing that's different at Hellfire Club, other than having to walk straight up a mountain, was when we got in there, Jonathan Garraway and Eileen Murray were working with a Frank's box. Now, I'm pretty sure everybody here knows what a Frank's box is, but for those who don't, Thomas Edison invented this, and it's called the telephone to the dead. And it spawned the spirit box and all this other stuff. But the Frank's box is like the spirit box, that's been working out and taking steroids. But I go there, and they're talking to the box, and they're not getting anything. Well, one of the reasons that Scottish Paranormal invited me to the Hellfire Club, they thought I would really like it because one of my relatives was actually a member of the Hellfire Club.
Right.
And we go over there, and I walked up. I said, "Can I try?" And they said, "Sure." So I said, "Hi, my name is Rick. I came all the way from the United States to say hi to my relative, John Wilkes." And then it said something, made no sense. It said something else that made no sense. And then it goes, "Relative?" And I mean, our eyes all perk up, our ears perk up, right? Because I told him I was his relative.
Yes.
And I said, "Yeah, I just came by to say hi." And then it goes, "Hi, Rick." And I mean, now all three of us are just like, whoa, this is cool. So then I said one more thing. I said, "Look, I think I'm talking to John Wilkes." I said, "And if I really am, I want to know if this is true, because if you really did this, I'll know for positive you're my relative, because I would have done the same thing." I said, "Did you really take a baboon and dress him up like Satan and turn him loose into the club?" And we all started laughing, and there was a couple words, and then it goes, "Baboon." Now, you guys all ghost hunt. What are the chances of, in a little place up on top of a hill in the middle of nowhere in Ireland, that you can get the three words, relative, four words, relative, hi, Rick, and baboon in a 4-minute conversation? I mean, the odds have to be astronomical.
I would agree.
So, and the thing that I was saying, though, is let the other person, Eileen tells her story, but she has the relative and the hi, Rick transposed to what I remember. Mm-hmm. But it's still the same story, so it's all good.
I really think Eileen is a very special person, and I've been so lucky to become friends with many of the members of Scottish Paranormal because of our affiliation, but mainly because they're just awesome. I have, when you said Eileen, Phil, I remember that. I remember reading that, and I just think that, I don't know what I would have thought I mean, I know that you are basically fearless when you go in and you're getting all this stuff happening, but you're very respectful. And I would have lost it on the baboon.
Well, all three of us
laughing.
were like, we were all looking at each other, and I went, wow, we got that on tape. And Jonathan goes, oh, we haven't started taping yet. And I was like, wah.
Was he serious?
Yeah, it's not on tape.
No.
Although I did walk up, I don't know if they have this on tape, and I did ask another couple of questions, and it answered them. So I don't know if they have that on tape, but fortunately there were other people there that heard it. So that was actually really pretty cool.
Wow.
And I will tell you, here's more story about how people really are nice. Eileen and Tommy Moyes, who also were at, in Ireland with us, had come over to Roslyn to pick me up to take me to the airport. And Eileen had made a bunch of sandwiches for all of us. And we get over there and everything else. And on the way back, they're taking me back. I can't remember if it was Easter or Mother's Day when we came back. And I said, can I buy you guys dinner? And they said, sure. I said, we can hang out a while. So right across from Roslyn Chapel is the original Roslyn Inn, and it has a restaurant in it. You may have seen it in a lot of stuff. It's been in all the ghost hunting shows. If anybody goes to Ireland and to Roslyn, they always use that as a base, to film in. It was actually in The Curse of Oak Island when they went there. And they were sitting in my chair, too, dang it. I wanted to yell at them. But anyway, we go over there, and I walk in, and the owner's son, the owner's son of original Roslyn, his son and his wife, Amy, own the Chapel Cross Guest House right across the street from it. So they frequently work in both of them. Anyway, I go in there, and the place is jammed, right, because it's a holiday. So I just asked, the guy's name is Richard. I said, Richard, I got a couple friends here, can we get on a waiting list or something? And he looks at me and he goes, I got you. And he comes back, he goes in the back for a few minutes, and he comes back, he goes, here, I got you guys a table. So just people driving me around, somebody going out of their way to make sure I got a table so I can buy dinner for my friends. It's just, and the thing that I really like about myself is that I notice those things, and I'm very grateful.
That's
it's not like I just go, it's not like I'm like, oh, okay, thanks. No, I mean, someone goes out of the way for me. I'm really grateful about it.
Well, and I think that's one of my favorite things about you, too, because it's something that you don't see very often. People are just so busy, and they're so into their own schedule and what's happening. And I know sometimes I do this to you or whoever when we're talking and I get sidetracked, and it's just an interesting thing because I do notice things, but sometimes I have something that I want to say when we first start talking, and I don't pay attention because I'm excited, and then I'll hear your voice or whoever's voice, and I'm like, oh, they have something to say too. I'll shut up now. So I think that's pretty cool that you do that.
Well, it's not only that. I get excited when I'm talking to people. I have a tendency to butt in. I don't mean to do it, but I've done it my whole life. So they should have a telethon for me, I think.
A telethon? Because you're a Bedinsky?
Yeah, to stop interrupt us.
Now that's funny. I don't care who you are.
Yeah. I don't care who you are. That's funny right there.
That is funny right there. And it is just really, I think it's cool though, because usually when you have something, it's because something has happened that, we'll talk about the broadsword in just a minute because we're about to go to break. But it's because you've had something exciting happen. It's just really neat. So we are going to take our news break, and hopefully we'll find a little good news. I'm ever hopeful. I really think that eventually there's going to be some. I am just bound and determined that we're going to find some good news at some point. But until then, let's see what's here. We will be right back after this. Thank you so much for listening. We are Fate Mag Radio, the online voice of Fate Magazine. And my guest tonight is Rick McCallum. So he has so many more stories to tell. Y'all just come on back and we'll be here.
This message comes from NPR sponsor HBO with Agents of Chaos, a new two-part documentary examining Russia's interference in the 2016 presidential election on consecutive days starting September 23rd at 9 p.m. on HBO, or stream it on HBO Max.
Live from NPR News, I'm Janine Herbst. 2 Republican senators now say they believe a vote on a Supreme Court nominee should come after the next president is elected. NPR's Christiana Silva has more.
Republican Senator Lisa Murkowski of Alaska said on Sunday that she does not support a vote on a Supreme Court nominee before the election, which is now less than 2 months away. Susan Collins of Maine also says the nomination should be made by the winner of the 2020 presidential election. However, Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell says he plans to move toward a vote anyway. President Trump is expected to announce a nominee as early as this week. In a speech Sunday, Democratic presidential nominee Joe Biden appealed to Senate Republicans to hold off considering a nominee until after the election. 4 Republicans would need to oppose a nomination to stop it. Christiana Silva, NPR News, Washington.
The remaining European governments in the Iranian nuclear agreement are rejecting the U.S. announcement that it is reimposing sanctions on Tehran. Terry Schultz reports France, Germany, and the U.K. say since Washington quit the deal in 2018, it can no longer invoke any of its mechanisms.
The French, German, and British foreign ministers note in a statement that the withdrawal by the Trump administration means it has no authority to reimpose UN sanctions that were lifted under the nuclear agreement. They say the notification to UN Security Council members circulated by the U.S. is incapable of having legal effect. Although Iran has now been certified to be in breach of its obligations under the 2015 deal, the Europeans, plus the other signatories China and Russia, say they remain committed to it. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo says the U.S. intends not only to reapply sanctions on Iran envisioned under the deal, but Washington will also punish those countries who don't follow its lead. For NPR News, I'm Terry Schultz in Brussels.
New York's Attorney General Letitia James is promising to expedite the release of body camera footage in cases of alleged police misconduct that her office investigates.
Up until now, the release of footage has been up to the discretion of local authorities. But this process has caused confusion, delays, and has hampered transparency in a system that should be as open as possible.
James spoke in Rochester, New York, which has been in turmoil since the footage of Daniel Prude's suffocation death while in police custody was released more than 5 months after his death. James says her office will proactively release footage to the public on their own, but it's not clear how many cases will be affected by the policy because the Attorney General's office does not review all footage of police interactions with the public. U.S. futures contracts are trading lower at this hour. All 3 major indices down about 0.25%. This is NPR News. Reports of at least 100 arrests in the former Soviet Republic of Belarus. That is after tens of thousands again took to the streets in opposition to what they insist were falsified presidential elections last month. Charles Maines has more from Moscow.
This was the 6th weekend in a row that thousands took to the streets to demand an end to Alexander Lukashenko's quarter-century rule. The demonstrations come in the wake of August presidential elections that Lukashenko claims he won in a landslide, but the protesters say he rigged to stay in power. Public anger has also stemmed from a subsequent government crackdown that's seen over 7,500 arrests and credible evidence of police torture. On Sunday, opposition hackers began leaking the private data of members of Lukashenko's security forces, a key faction of support for Lukashenko. State police have repeatedly carried out raids against the opposition wearing masks or helmets to hide their identities from public view. For NPR News, I'm Charles Maines in Moscow.
Even though the majority of movie theaters around the country are open again, it seems people aren't going back in significant numbers, and that's in spite of new movies in theaters. At the weekend box office, Warner Brothers' Tenet earned $4 million in its 3rd weekend. Disney's The New Mutants added $1 million in its fourth weekend, and Sony's rom-com The Broken Hearts Gallery picked up an additional $800,000 in its second weekend. Newcomers aren't faring much better. Internationally, Mulan plunged 72% in its second weekend in China, where audiences have largely rejected Disney's live-action remake. I'm Janine Herbst, NPR News.
Welcome back to WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. The time is 5 minutes after the hour. Welcome back to Fate Mag Radio. This is the top of our second hour, and I am so glad you're here. You know, we are the online voice of Fate Magazine, and I'm very fortunate to be representing them. I'm kind of like the voice of Fate, right? Or the voice in your head, one of the two. I am really enjoying this show because I have my friend Rick McCallum on here, who has, among other things, he does so much. He's founder of Hollywood Ghost Hunters and the Hollywood Ghost Hunters magazine, and he investigates. He is a stuntman and stunt coordinator, as well as an actor, an official actor, SAG card and all. And he is just an all-around terrific guy. And we are celebrating the release of his book, Ghosts Believe in Me, Playing a Monster by Day, Seeking Spirits at Night. And it is really a good book. I have to tell you that there's so many experiences shared in that I've read it several times because I always pick something else up new when I go into it. And Rick, thank you for being here. I'm excited to have you.
Well, you know I'll come on with you anytime.
Well, and I appreciate that.
I mean, you know, I'm your biggest fan, so of course I'd be on.
Well, I appreciate that. I appreciate your friendship even more than that. So,
yay!
It is too much fun. And, you know, it was just such a random friendship. I love that. I love when people just, you know, these things just show up. And there you are. You've known somebody for centuries.
Yeah, I know. It's like knowing you for forever.
Yeah. And it was like that when we first met. And it was so funny because part of that was Gruenwald. Because y'all had the same birthday, and he and I are friends too. And I was just like, I can't believe you're birthday twins. That's just too cool.
Well, not only that, we're about the same size. We both got gray hair and goatees. I mean, we're born on the same birthday.
So much.
Matter of fact, I wish he was famous because I could be his stunt double.
Well,
wish he was doing movies and stuff. By the way, you said about me being an actor. I was in the grocery store I go to, Gelson's, and this one guy came up to me and he looks at me and he goes, "Are you an actor?" And I said, "Nope, and I've got film to prove it."
Now, that's funny. That is funny. But, you know, you're always like that. You're not self-deprecating because you know that you're very good at what you do. But it's just so neat to hear you interact with other people because they get very into the whole experience of meeting you and, you know, talking to you and learning about you. And I think that's cool.
Well, 2 days ago I was in the market and I looked up and here comes this really pretty blonde lady. I mean, just exactly my type. And she comes over to me and she goes, "You know, I've seen you in here a lot." And she tells me her name and I tell her my name. And I thought, oh, this could be something cool. And then I looked down and she had a ring on that looked like a glass doorknob. But it was still nice having somebody to come up to me.
Well, it is nice. And, you know, it's difficult when you live alone sometimes. And you just have to kind of get back into yourself a little bit. And life gets interesting. Or it gets dead boring. One of the two. There's not usually a big mix. But you had something strange happen to you recently. And I was wondering if it would be okay for you to share that.
Yes, indeed. I think I know what you're talking about. You're talking about the broadsword.
I am. That's such a
anybody,
cool experience.
Yeah, anybody that really knows me knows that I'm kind of a spiritual person. All my life, and it's one of the reasons I love Scotland, is because of the lineage. But way back when I was about 5 years old, this is also in the book, I started having this recurring dream. And it was me at 5 years old, and I was someplace that looked to me like Old Jerusalem, because I saw people with the sandals and the white linen stuff, and it was all sand where we were at. And there were all these people, like, in a big ring, and I could hear the sound of swords clanging. And because I was little, I could kind of squeeze through and get to the front. And I saw a man who was fighting what I said was monsters, but what I realize now would have been demons.
Right.
And these guys are, I mean, he's totally outnumbered. He's surrounded, and he's putting up a vicious battle, and he's much better than the demons. But you can tell that they're going to wear him down. And I'm looking at all the adults, and I'm like, none of them are going out to help him. And I can't figure this out. There's a human being attacked by these monsters, and nobody's helping, right? So finally, one of the demons comes up behind him, and he turns and just skewers him and kills him, and the demon drops his sword. So I see it, and I start to go in, and the man turns around, he looks at me, and he mouths the word no, right? But I couldn't not go in and help him. So even 5 years old, I went in, I grabbed this broadsword that was on the ground, and I could barely lift it off the ground. And just as I did, this one demon started coming towards me, and all of a sudden, my right arm shot up. I had the broadsword in one hand, and I was fully grown. And I was, fortunately, because I took the demon off guard, I was able to finish him off pretty quickly. And I turned around, and the man was looking at me, and for some reason, I just knew that he was an angel. And he and I went, Sword City and all these on all these things, but there were just so many. All of a sudden, I felt a very sharp pain in my ribs, and I start to fall. And every time I got to there, I would snap wide awake. It took me a long time, and I mean, I had this many, many times, to realize, trying to figure out what it meant. And I finally realized that it was asking me to make a choice. And I made my choice, right? Mm-hmm. So ever since then, even in pictures when I'm a little kid, if you see me standing there, my right hand is made like I have a sword in it, even when I'm just standing there. Well, I've been having this feeling lately that I need to get a broadsword and really practice with it. Now, I don't know if that's a portend of something to come, or if it's just, I just really want to try it and things like that. So I started looking online for a practice sword. I have actual ceremonial swords and things like that from the Franklin Mint. I have a real nice broadsword, and I'm afraid if I swung it, it would either fly across the room and kill me, because it's known to fly across the room. It's another story entirely. It's in the book. But I wanted to get a nice thing, and they had like really crummy ones that were made out of wood, and then I saw a real nice one, all black, and it was made out of polypropylene, and it's kind of expensive. So I just thought, you know what, I'll go I'll go to the hardware store, I'll get a pipe and, a couple pieces and put together my own sword and use that. So I go outside to go to the store, to the hardware store. I throw my garbage away, and laying in front of the recycle bin is a brand new black polypropylene broadsword. Coincidence?
I think not.
More than likely, but I don't think so. I really don't. Deep down in my heart, I don't think that's a mistake by any means. Because one of the things is, I usually wait till my garbage piles up, and then I take it all out at one time. So I'm not very often going by there. And to just, I took it's not my garbage, my recycling. I don't take recycling out because I have, a big bin for it in my apartment. this was the one day that I was actually taking recycling out, and there it was, right in the ground in front of the recycling. Somebody had set it there so they didn't throw it in the garbage. So I picked it up and ran back in the house like a little thief in the night. But, you know, but I don't think that was there by accident. I really don't. I mean, it's just too many cool things happen to me not to pay attention.
Exactly.
You know, so I've been practicing with it, and I have to tell you, if you want to see strange looks, have a 6'4", 240-pound man dressed all in black walking along at 11:30 at night with a big black broadsword over his shoulder.
Going to practice.
People get out of your way. People get out of your way.
People tend to get out of your way anyway.
Yeah, it's like this isn't bad. I may have to keep doing this.
Well, I think it's very cool because you are actively practicing. And
well, I am.
You have found the most, going back to Denise's question about, what has kept you busy during this pandemic. When you were still planning to get to Scotland, you were going on the trail. So you practiced walking in the hills of Beverly Hills and, the Hollywood Hills. And you were doing all of the things getting back in shape from the knee injury and the other stuff. So, you're building up and you're getting ready. And that was active training. And then you still kept it up, though.
Actually, I wanted to do, in Scotland, they have a thing called the West Highland Way.
Yes.
And it is 96-mile trail.
Yes.
And I really, really wanted to do that, but doing that by yourself would seem to be really boring. It'd be very nice and to be able to look and stuff like that, but 96 miles you don't do it in one day. I mean, it's like 8 days if you're actually going some distances, right? And then, I don't like staying in tents. I'm not really a Yukon Jack. To actually have to buy the new equipment I would need, because I would stay in a tent, every once in a while, but I'm old and I got bad knees and a bad back and all kinds of stuff. So I would like to take a shower and actually sleep in a bed and sit in a tub for a while. But I figured out that it cost me like about $1,500 and 2 weeks of my, of my trip there. And I just thought, you know what, that's just too much time and too much money to spend on that. So what I plan on doing, and it won't be the same, but I'll still get to see everything, I'm going to do it in sections.
Absolutely.
I'm going to do like, the first leg and then, go back to Edinburgh or St. Andrews, wherever I happen to be staying. And then, the next time I come over, if I have another day later on in the time I'm there, go up and knock out another piece just so I can say that I've done the whole thing.
Absolutely. I actually have one of those. It's the Cabot Trail up on Cape Breton Island in Nova Scotia. So mine won't take a week, or I hope it won't take a week. But my friend Charlene lives there, and she's like, if you'll come in September. And I'm like, is that when the snow is only 3 feet deep? But, I don't do snow. But it was, it makes me cold just looking at it. But I think that's one of my favorite ideas. And I really wanted to do that. Well, I'm glad that you got realistic about it, though. And then I sent you someplace shorter, and you were like, are you trying to kill me? But it was pretty.
Just shoot me. Don't you have to kill me that way. When I was over in Scotland, I have to this will just reinforce the whole thing about how nice people are to me. I got a big head because I really know a lot of people now that run the hotels. Mm-hmm. And I figured, I'll get like 4 days of reservation in one place, and then I'll go out and I'll stay at the Roslyn Inn where I have friends, the Chapel Cross Guest House. So I go out there after 2 days, and Amy comes out, one of the owners, and I said, hey, Amy, I want to stay here this weekend. And she goes, oh, we're all booked up. And I was like, what? Because usually there are times when I've been the only person in the inn. So it's like 9 rooms, but, it's not a tourist trap. It's just a really cool place to go. And anybody that goes to Roslyn, it's right across the street from the chapel. You should stay there. It's like an old-time one. It's got a tea room in it. I mean, if you want to experience Scotland,
yes,
do that. But she said no, and she says, I just got off the master hotel list, and there is not a room available between Edinburgh and Glasgow. And I was like, what? And she goes, you don't know what's going on, do you? And I said, well, that's probably pretty normal for me. And she just starts laughing. She goes, no, the European Rugby Championships are here, and everything is sold out. Now, I got 2 more days, and then I got nowhere to go. So I'm in a bind. So I asked her, I said, can you think of any other place? She goes, yeah, try the Aaron Glen Guest House. It's about 4 miles from here. I said, okay. So I call this really nice lady, Carolyn, her name is. I always kept getting her name confused, Carolyn or Caroline, and finally she goes, it's Carolyn like Marilyn, not Caroline like Franklin.
Hey, I'm going to interrupt you because we have to take a break. But I am so excited for people to hear this story because people just love you. It's just the oddest thing. Go figure, right? We will be right back.
Hope it keeps up.
Me too.
You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, Birmingham, Alabama.
Paratalk Radio is your one-stop for all things paranormal, the unknown, and the supernatural. Join us every Monday night at 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central for discussions and guests on topics such as ghosts, hauntings, Bigfoot, UFOs, and more. This broadcast is rated M for mature and intended for listeners over 16 on paratalkradio.com.
Oh, come on. I'm Southern, but... nope. That'll do. Hello. I am Kat Hobson, host of Paranormal Experience here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. I enjoy having guests from all areas of the paranormal, from ghosts to ufology to cryptids and beyond. You'll find some of the best researchers in their fields bringing you some great information. Join me on Wednesday nights from 8 to 10 p. Eastern here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
Since 1948, Fate magazine has brought you reports of the strange and unknown, all of them true. Fate Radio is carrying on that tradition, bringing you the unusual, macabre, strange, and bizarre. Join host Kat Hobson Sunday nights from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
Thank you for listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama.
Since 1948, Fate magazine has brought you reports of the strange and unknown, all of them true. Fate Radio is carrying on that tradition, bringing you the unusual, macabre, strange, and bizarre. Join host Kat Hobson Sunday nights from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
The time is 23 minutes after the hour. Welcome back to Fate Mag Radio. I am Kat, your host, joined by my guest, Rick McCallum, who is a new author. And his book is rocking. But I had to interrupt him as he was talking about his adventure in Roslyn, as he was actually trying to get a place to stay, only to look like you were going to be defeated by the rugby championships. That's not football.
Yeah, it was taught me a lesson, I'll tell you that. Yeah. But anyway, I called this girl, Carolyn. She was the owner of the Aaron Glen Guest House. And I talked to her, and she goes, oh, no, we just renovated. She says, and we're all booked up. And I went, oh, dang it. And I guess she heard something in my voice, and she goes, what's the matter? And I said, well, I save up every year to come here for 3 weeks to a month. I said, and I've been here 2 days, and it looks like I'm going to have to leave on Friday, get a plane and go home. And she goes, why? I said, I just can't find a place to stay. Everything's booked. And she goes, oh, I know. She goes, can I call you back? And I said, sure. So this woman, now you have to understand, I've never met her. Okay? I had one phone call with her. She calls me back, and she goes, I want to see if you'd be interested in something. I said, what's that? She goes, me mum is going to England for 2 weeks to visit her sister, and she said you can use her house. I said, well, how much does she want? She goes, oh, don't you dare offer her money. She'll get mad. And I was like, wait a minute. Your mother's going to let me use her house. You've never met me. She's never met me. Why would you do that, right? And she goes, because I can tell you're a nice person. I said, but you've never met me. She goes, no, but you're incredulous about anybody doing that. She says, and you also offered to pay. I said, well, it only seemed fair, right? So I ended up staying for 10 days in this lady's house, which I did have something paranormal happen there, too, which was bizarre. Starting to wonder if maybe the places I go aren't haunted, and it might just be me, but which is a possibility, except for the historical people show up, too. But what I would do is I would take a bus into Roslyn, and I would go out, and I would, go out to the field where, William Wallace duked it out, and I would go out into the fields around Roslyn. Now, if anybody's going to Scotland, you need to go to Roslyn Chapel.
Yes.
It's fantastic, but there's so much more to the area than people know. There's the battleground that's like a mile and a half the other direction, but there are, if you go down the one, you're right next to the chapel. If you turn right after you come out, you'll go down about 100 yards, and there's 3 old-time graveyards there on the corners. It's a triangle, which is really cool. And if you keep going down this other side road, you go, about 300 yards, you'll come to what's left of Roslyn Castle, which is really cool. And it's over this nice bridge, and it's really something to see. So a lot of people go to Roslyn, and they never actually bother to see the rest of it. And the rest of it's really nice. But it has this huge forest, and I would walk back to the house that I was staying in, and it was 8 miles. And I would walk through the forest, every day or several times a week, because other times I'd go into Edinburgh. But so many things I found. Like I found all these streams and bridges and, all kinds of things. And I found a bike path where people were all biking and everything else. So it was really cool. But I'm still astounded that somebody that never met me would let me stay in their house.
You're always astounded.
Yeah, but I did have a paranormal thing that happened there one night.
Well, tell me.
I had gone out ghost hunting with a guy named Gary Fields, who is a medium, and a psychic medium. And we had gone. I was with Brian Harley from Premier Paranormal and somebody else. But anyway, when I got back, it was late at night. I came walking in, and I walked into the kitchen, and I heard squish, squish, squish like water. So I turned on the light, and there was probably like, I don't know, a pot full, of water, if somebody was cooking. And I looked over, and on the stove, there was a half of a crescent around the burner of water, like somebody had boiled over water and went down on the ground. Well, there's nobody there but me. Yeah, there's nobody there but me. And then I looked over, and there was a carpenter's pencil that was on the counter. Now, I cleaned up all the water, obviously, because, I didn't want anything to happen to the nice lady's house. But I called Carolyn the next day because she said she might send somebody out to work on her mom's house to fix a couple things. So I looked over the thing. There's no way any water could have got from the sink. It was probably about 5 feet away with a bend in the counter, because it was off to the right. The other thing was off to the left. So I called up. I said, Carolyn, was anybody over here working from your guy? She goes, oh, no, I haven't sent anybody over there yet. So I told her what happened, and she goes, "Wow, that's really unusual." I said, and I found a carpenter's pencil on the counter. I said, and I wiped the whole thing down. That carpenter's pencil wasn't there before. That's why I thought it was one of your workers. And she goes, "My dad was a carpenter."
Neat.
So, yeah, so it was pretty cool. But then she goes like this. She goes, "Well, maybe my dad wants to know who the man is that's staying in his wife's house." And I said, "Well, I've seen pictures of your dad. He was a handsome rascal, and he's got nothing to worry about."
Too fun. That's so
But
unusual, though.
Yeah, I had no explanation for that whatsoever. And I mean, I tried everything I could to figure it out. It's just something out of the norm, you know?
Well, out of the norm is your thing.
You know what's so funny? That stuff happens to me all the time.
Yeah.
And it gets to the point that I don't even want to tell anybody because I start to think they think I make this stuff up. And anybody that knows me knows that that's not my deal at all.
No.
You know? So, but it's an interesting life. What can I say? You know?
Well, it's you're never bored.
Well, yes, I am sometimes.
Well, that's because that's because it's dead boring in the world right now. But
yeah, it can be for sure.
Well, I have questions in chat.
Yay! I love questions. Come on, chat, keep asking.
We'll
okay.
Do it. Well, this one is interesting because of how it's phrased. So, and I know the answer to this, but does Rick feel like he has any attachments, good or bad?
At this point in time, I don't think so. I do think I have things around me, if that makes sense.
It does,
but
not actually attached.
Not attached to me, but I have things that protect me. And it's happened many, many times, so I have no doubt. But I have had things attached to me twice, and one of them was not fun because I got horribly sick, and that was out at the Pioneer Saloon. And I'll tell you the story because it's very interesting. Pioneer Saloon is a very famous place. It's where Clark Gable, it's in Good Springs, Nevada. It's where Clark Gable sat for 3 straight days at the bar while they were trying to get his wife, Carol Lombard, who had been killed in a plane crash on the mountain behind there, down to bring her body. Well, they brought her body down finally into the Pioneer Saloon. Mm-hmm. And Clark had been sitting up there drumming his fingers and stuff on the bar so long that he actually put two creases in it where you could see where he'd been sitting there. And I think some of it might have been from the cigars he smoked all the time, too. Yes. But I was there, and they told me about this one boxer who had been murdered and about a girl named Ruby who had been murdered on the other side. It's actually, the place is kind of like an H. There's like well, I know you've been there. There's the one side where it's like all bar, and then on the other side it's like got a little restaurant area. Well, she was in the restaurant area, and somebody came in and actually had their way with her, shall we say, and then strangled her to death. And then they're pretty sure it was the old boyfriend. But I go in, and I'm with I'm part of a group. I was a guest, but the group was there. And there's 2 round tables. So we all sit around the round tables while Jill Patavasi is telling us the stories. And because the girl sitting next to me is kind of in the little curve where there's no table in front of her, she didn't have anywhere to put her K2 meter down, so she put it down in front of me because I was, in the chair where the guy got murdered. So I have my K2 down. There's REM pods and there's all kinds of stuff all over the table. Well, Jill starts telling the story of stuff, and nothing's going off. The REM pod went off one time, just like a beep. And then all of a sudden, all 10 lights of the K2 light up in front of me, right? And it goes on for 10, 15 seconds and stops, right? So she's telling us the story, and it does it again, right?
So wicked cool.
Yeah, and I got to tell you, I got so sick the second time. I mean, I thought I was going to throw up right then on the table. And I actually felt like I was on fire. And they were recording this, so there's actually audio of what's going on. There's actually video of it, too. But I'm sitting there, and you can see by the look on my face something's wrong. And Jill says to me, she goes, oh, the ghosts, the spirits must really love you when the things go off again. And I just looked over and I said, I'm not so sure they do, right? And she goes, what's the matter? And I said, touch my forehead. And I figured she's going to say, you're like a blast furnace. She goes, oh, my God, you're like a block of ice. And the girl sitting next to me reached over and put her hand on my forearm, and she goes, you're so cold, right? Yeah. And I said, yeah, I don't feel good. So I get up and I walk to go outside just in case, because my stomach is really upset. So I go walking, and there's a girl at the table who's facing away from me, and I walk by her. I'm about 1.5 feet, 2 feet behind her, and as I walk by her, you hear her say, "Man, I can feel him, how cold he is from here." So I mean, it was something very significant, whatever it was. But that's what I'm saying. Some of these attachments cannot be a lot of fun.
Right.
But after that, I have actually been there 6 times. By the way, twice that night we heard my name called out that you could hear with your ears, right? But when the girl went through the videotape about what was happening, when Jill said, I think the spirits really love you, and I said, I'm not so sure they do. There's a girl's voice that goes, we do.
Oh.
Yeah, so when I come back in, I was starting to feel better, and as soon as I walked in the door, I felt like, I got kicked in the crotch. I mean, all of a sudden just, the stomach and everything else came back. I was feeling better when I was outside. So I just looked over at the people, and I said, guys, I'm really sorry. I said, I have never left a ghost hunt in my life. I said, but I don't want to ruin this for you, and I'm really sick. And I turn around, I start to walk away, and for some reason I stop and look back. And on the tape, you could hear a man's voice say, turn Rick back. Right? I stand there and I look at the people. I said, it was really nice meeting you. I'll have a great hunt. And I turn and walk away, and the man's voice says, release him. So that's a pretty interesting thing. But I've been there roughly 6 times. Every time I've been there, Ruby, the girl who was killed in the other room, says my name. And we have it on tape repeatedly.
Right.
Right? So it's just really cool. I called Jill the day after I was sick, and I said, did anybody else hear my name and stuff like that? Or a couple days. And she goes, yeah, we did hear it that night. And I said, I just wonder if anybody was doing something untoward, because you have to debunk everything.
Right.
And I trust them all, right? But she goes, well, it wasn't that. And I said, how do you know? She goes, because the next 2 nights they called out your name too. So it's funny. Whenever I would go there, as soon as the spirit box would come on, Jill said, who's here with us? And it would go, Ruby, right? And I have this on video. And I say, cool. I said, did she say Ruby? And then Jill says, yeah. And then it goes, Rick. And being myself, I was like, hi, baby doll, how you been? So, I have had attachments, and I had something happen at the Hellfire Club that went on all the way into Lep Castle. And you're going to have to read that because it's hard to explain.
It is hard to explain. Well, it's hard to experience.
Well, let's put it this way. Even people I really don't like, and that's actually probably hardly nobody, but anybody that I really wouldn't like, I would not want that to happen to them. I really wouldn't. So,
well,
there, a little teaser for you people that like books.
Well, and I'm going to tell you that Rick's book is available on Amazon.com. So just either Google him or Google Ghosts Believe in Me. It's worth reading. I'm going to tell you, it's a great book actually. And
well, oh, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I told you I have Budinsky.
But I'm used to it, so it doesn't bother me at all.
Yeah, Budinsky. I have gotten a bunch of people on Facebook, and I actually put some reviews up, and they're astonishingly favorable, so which I find really satisfying, shall we say? Because when you actually put out stories about yourself, and part of your life, you want people to understand it, what you're trying to say, and But there's things in there. There's the Omen House, the Hellfire Club, Lep Castle, Algony Castle, which is Scottish Paranormal's base, which I've had many things happen. Had something slap me in the back of the head. And it happened right after somebody saw something coming up from the ground towards me, and then I felt a slap in the back of my head in the outer chapel. But I've been all through the Roslyn grounds. I've been to Dunatar Castle. I've been to Hale Castle, St. Anthony's Chapel. Been to Sloss Furnace, which we got to get into somehow. I've been to Old South Pittsburgh Hospital, Mansfield. I've been to so many famous places. I'm so fortunate to have gotten to go to those places. I've ghost hunted in Scotland, Ireland, England, which, by the way, the most haunted place I've ever been in my life is Bolton Abbey in England. And that's also in the book, and that was hard to go through. It didn't happen to me, but a friend of mine actually got knocked out, and he looked like he was going into shock or something, right? Because he started getting the micro shakes and stuff. I actually pulled him off the bench and put him on the ground and covered him in my coats. And Mandy Fellows from Anubis Paranormal knew what I was going at because I thought he was going into shock. And she got her equipment cases. We put his feet up, and I started rubbing his arms and, patting him on the face, trying to get him to wake up. And it took us a good 10 minutes. And to everybody that was there, this wasn't Scottish Paranormal this time. This was Premier Paranormal and Anubis from England. They started taking their coats off and putting them on him too. So, everybody just jumped in there to make sure Brian was all right. But you have to read the story of this because there's an inside story of it that's just kind of astounding. So, but that's another place that's just way out there. Norwich Theater, I'll tell you another one. We went there in England, and we went downstairs underneath the theater part. That's where they have the pulleys and the electrical systems and everything else for the stage above. And there is a big pipe that runs through the middle about waist high, and there's about an 8-foot emptiness except for the power things on the other side, right? And they tell you can go down there, but you can't go on the other side of the pipe. So we're down there, and we're starting an investigation, and I look up, and I see a guy in profile, and it looks like he's either looking at his phone or a K2 meter or a recorder or something. So I look back to see who it might be because I only see the shape of him because it's dark over there. And I look at Mandy, and her eyes are real big, and I turn my head back real quick, and there's nobody there. She looks at me, she goes, "You saw him too, didn't you?" And I went, "Yeah, I did." So there was a full-body apparition about 5 feet away from me, which is really pretty cool.
Well, it is.
And the fact that Mandy saw it. And Mandy also has a very great group. And that brings me to another story real quickly.
Oh, yeah.
Because Anubis and Premier Paranormal had me over to England. Premier Paranormal, my friend Brian Harley and Carol Ann Haspera drove us over there. And then Gary Fields drove us out to Bolton Abbey, which, if you read the book, there's something extraordinarily frightening happens on the way home. But anyway, I had a friend who was the manager of the Real Mary King's Close, which is a extraordinarily haunted place in Edinburgh. Now, you may have seen it on different ghost hunting things, but
yes.
What's so unusual about it is it's built into the side of the mountain, and it's mostly underground. So there's a long, steep thing that you walk down, and then you're in all these different rooms. Well, I wanted to have a paranormal unity ghost hunt because I think it's something we really need. So Craig asked me if I wanted to have a hunt there, so I got the couple people from Premier Paranormal. I got 3 people from Anubis and 2 of the guys from Scottish Paranormal, and we all had a ghost hunt there. And the guys from Scottish Paranormal said that is one of the most amazing ghost hunts they've ever had. Mandy was really excited about it. Everybody had major experiences when we were there. And my friend J. Craig Miller was the one that got me there. And Kat Mowat, who was the assistant manager, she walked around with us. So one of the things I did, too, about the paranormal the Para-Unity conference, I made the group split up. You couldn't ghost hunt with your own guy. So you had to be part of the other. Yeah, you had to be part of the other team. So, I mean, it all worked out. Everybody had a great time. So that's another one. The Real Mary King's Close. You know, the Queen Mary I've been on. Pico House, obviously, on Ghost Adventures.
Right.
And I'd like to tell a story about that if I can.
Please. Well,
the Pico House, if anybody saw it, are you got a break coming up?
Well, I'll just pop it in there. It's okay.
Okay. Nick Groff and I were actually on the building across the street, and we were downstairs, and the security cleared the whole building. We're walking downstairs, and we hear very distinct footsteps coming from upstairs. So we follow them, and we go down to one end of the hallway. Well, we hear talking at the other end, so we go back, and Nick's spirit box had turned itself on. So while we're standing there, at the other end, we hear what sounds like somebody running up metal steps real hard, like blam, 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 blam at the other end, so we could take off. Well, at the end of the hallway, they had the left side of the hallway was blocked off. You couldn't make a turn. So we went the other way, and all they had were cement stairs. So we're like, what the heck was that? So then we heard pounding in the back. We went back there with Zach and a security guard coming to get us. And I asked them, I said, were you pounding on the door in front over here? And they said, no, we walked right over here. So that was really weird.
That is
really
weird.
Well, here's even the weirder thing. And I learned something there. Now, that's why I want to relay this story. This one group invited me and R.A. and Kane, but Kane couldn't go. He was off being famous at a convention somewhere. So R.A. and I went, and we were ghost hunting, and I was telling them the story. We were down in that one room, and I said, and we heard metal steps, and there aren't any metal steps down here. And the guy goes, follow me. So we go there, and around the way where we couldn't go. Now, remember, the security had cleared this building. There was nobody else in it.
Right.
If you went to the left and you opened the door there were a big thing of metal stairs.
Oh, wow.
So that was interesting. Now, here's the thing I want other people to learn. Most of them have probably thought of this, but it took me a while. I'm kind of a slow learner sometimes. We were going through with the K2 and the voice box and all of our equipment, and nothing was happening. Well, I remembered this story at Pico House, and it was the Mexicans, the Chinese, and the Anglos, which I would be an Anglo, had a big riot out in front because the Chinese Tong had killed the Irish cop on the beat. Well, 17 people got killed in that riot, right on the property where the Pico House is.
Oh,
so as we're walking along, it dawned on me that maybe some of these spirits here might not speak English. So I asked the group, I said, does anybody here speak Spanish? And this one girl goes, I do. And I said, well, let's do this. After I ask the question, can you wait like 10 seconds and ask it again in Spanish, right? So we're walking along, and I ask a question, nothing on the K2, nothing going on. She asks the same question in Spanish, and all 5 lights and all the stuff starts going off.
Oh, wow.
So we got responses to the Spanish, but not to the English. So when I go to Dracula's castle, I want somebody that can speak Romanian with me.
Well, absolutely. You know, that's something that I've heard people discuss in the past, but how do you go to an Italian castle or a Romanian castle or anywhere and not have an interpreter with you?
Yeah,
right?
it's,
I mean, because it's just zany to do that.
Well,
I think
if you
it's
want to
zany
get
to do that.
Well, if you do want to get any interaction, I mean, they have to know what you're saying.
Yes. Otherwise, you're
And
just
I'll
an
tell you what,
intruder that's making jumbly noises.
well, you've seen me do one thing, and I haven't seen a lot of people do this, but it really helps. I have actually, when I go in, and I like to use the K2 meter, and I know somebody poo-poo it, but I have had some phenomenal results with it.
You do
and
have phenomenal results with it.
And I do different things with it other people don't do to know that I'm talking to a person, and it's not something that's just popping up. And I've debunked a lot of them myself by knowing it's something popping up. But when I go in, I will explain what I have in my hand, because if you're going to some place and it's people died in the 1700s, could you talk into the K2? Could you come near the K2 meter? Huh? I'm holding a thing in my hand, and you can see the little green light from over there. I said, this will not hurt you. Watch. And I always put it up against the side of my face. I said, it will not hurt you, but it will light up if you come close, and we can communicate that way. If you come close and it lights up, I'll ask you another question. If you step away, it'll go down, and then you can step back and answer. I said, and we can actually communicate that way. So I always do that. And I did one, believe it or not, I ghost hunted a hotel. I can't say what it was because I don't want to get that guy in trouble, but a friend of mine was the front desk clerk who was really into ghost hunting. And he said they have a lot of people who work there that say down below, a couple floors below, is really haunted. So we went down there, and he got the bell that meant somebody was trying to get in at night. So he went upstairs, and I waited for him. And while I was down there, I heard two women talking at the end of the hall. And I asked him, I said, can you hear what's going on up above us and stuff down here? He goes, no, it's totally quiet. And I said, well, I heard two women talking. And I have him hold the K2 meter so people can't see that I'm pressing the button or anything else. And I said, look, it was actually reacting to me when I was talking to it, so I wanted him to hold it. And I said, is the spirit still here that I was communicating with? And it goes off, right? And I said, are you the spirit I was communicating with? It goes off again, right? So I start talking, and it's answering me. And then it goes all 5 lights after the answer. And I say, make it go down to 1. And it instantly goes down to 1. Now, you can have a thing of power that comes in and messes up your K2 sometimes, but you can't tell it to stop and make it work. I don't care how much influence you got. Anyway, I keep talking, and I'm getting more stuff, and then it does the 5 lights all again. I said, go to 1, and it instantly goes to 1. Now, my friend is watching me. Yeah, and I also have this on video. And he also has, I think I might have showed it to you. He also is watching to see what I'm doing. I said, okay, if I give you a number, first off, I said, are there more spirits here than just you? And it goes all 5 lights. I said, so there are more, and it goes all 5 lights. So I said, if I give a number, if I start saying numbers, will you make it go off when I get to the number? And I go, 2, and it goes, brrr. And the guy looks at me, and I went, 3, nothing. 4, nothing. 5, nothing. 2, brrr. And then it dawns on him what I just did. Yeah. And he's like, oh, man, that is awesome. I said, yeah, that is pretty cool. So, sometimes I try to do something different, that would have to prove, or at least give the, distinct impression that something is there. Because when it instantly goes back to 1, and it actually, calls out on the same number when you've gone through several, that's pretty impressive to me anyway.
Well, I did see that, and that is impressive. One of the things I liked the best of the evidence that you shared with me was what we used in the video, that audio clip. And but that was astounding.
That is actually on a hunt with Scottish Paranormal.
It is.
And that is my favorite place to go ghost hunting. That is actually Dalgony Castle.
Yep.
And the Laird of the Castle and me are buddies. Man, he is the coolest dude.
And he has a dog you're not allergic to.
Yeah, the only dog that I can play with, Alfie. I mean, I'm so excited. I go back there and I spend most of my time playing with Alfie.
Yeah.
I got to tell you, when you had dogs your whole life, and there's a really cool story in the book about me and a Great Dane that I had before I got allergic to everything, that if it doesn't melt your heart, you're just cold-blooded. So
that's true.
So there, take that. But yeah, it's for the people who haven't seen it, there's a Frank's box there, and you hear me say, "Is there anything in the castle we need to be afraid of?" And it says very clearly and loudly, "The energy." So that was pretty cool.
That was so cool, and that actually is in your promo video.
I know.
I know. That was a great idea.
Well, I mean, it's so apparent. I mean, it's not. You can't mistake it for anything else.
No.
And I wasn't the one filming it. It wasn't my equipment. So that's always cool too.
It is always cool. I think
I gotta tell you,
is always cool.
I tell you, if anybody really wanted to get a really cool TV show going, would be me and Scottish Paranormal in Scotland, ghost hunting.
Absolutely.
And the reason I say me is because you need to have somebody you can understand what they're saying. I will be going with the Scottish Paranormal guys. We'll be in the car. We'll be driving, and they all speak English, but they have the Scottish accents. And I'll just turn around and say, "Will you guys please speak English?" Right? And every time I do it, they all bust up laughing.
That's because it's got to be just hilarious.
Yeah,
and
I'm just so glad. They are the nicest people in the world. I mean, they're generous. They're nice. I mean, it was funny because Gregor Stewart, by the way, if you want to read other ghost hunting books, look him up because he's done like 8 of them on the cities and the ghosts of Scotland. And they're all good. But he wrote down about a story about how he was kind of worried about meeting. He said they'd see me on Ghost Adventures and all the movies and stuff like that. And they said, "Oh, we don't know what he's going to be like," and stuff like that. And they said, well, Rick quickly put that fear to rest. He says, as soon as we got out of the car, he looked over. He said, we were wearing shirts that said Scottish Paranormal Investigative Team. And I looked up, I said, "Oh, great. Your anagram is spit." They said right then we were going to be friends. Oh, there's absolutely zero question about that. Yeah, they really are. And I know I've said it many, many times, but it's, I was really, really pleased to be, they actually surprised me when we came back from Ireland. And they gave me a thing called a cultist box, which is a spirit box that Mark Cultist makes. And he's pretty well known over there for the spirit boxes, and one that Jonathan Garraway had made. So I got 2 spirit boxes when they made me a lifetime member. Yeah, it really is. Yeah. They do. That's why I want to get you over there. You gotta talk to David, get him to fly. Well, I got to tell you, I really think that David would really like Scotland too. I really do, and I know you would adore the place.
Well, I would, and I just got a message that said breaking up, and they can't hear me. Can you hear me now? Apparently not. They're not responding. But that's
I can hear you.
Oh, there they Oh, now I'm too low. I don't know what is going on. It's probably because we're talking about haunted places. Dadgummit.
Could be too something.
No,
could be
everything's the same.
Could be maybe something because of the hurricanes.
No, I'm far enough north that shouldn't be a problem. But you just never know when you start fooling with this stuff, I'll tell you.
Well, yeah.
Never boring.
No, can they hear you now?
They said so, and then I got you're too low. But hopefully it's okay. But I hate it because it was when we were talking about the Scottish paranormal guys and how amazing they are, and how that I know if I went to Scotland, I would have good friends. I would not be afraid to be there because I would get, well taken care of where I'd have an issue.
Well, my hotel people would take care of you too. Trust me.
Yes.
They are very, very, very nice.
Well, I'm just very excited about getting a chance to maybe go because you're going to be doing something relevant to that, right?
I think so. I have not gotten the final word on it, but there is a group called Haunted Journeys that you see on Facebook, and they had asked me to be an ambassador for a trip, a 9-day trip to Scotland next summer. And these Scottish paranormal guys are actually going to come to the castles with us, bring their equipment and everything else. So,
yes.
If you want to be on a really, really good ghost hunt and get to see some castles that you might not get into and actually have, other things to do in Scotland while you're there, I mean, it's going to be fun,
Of course.
I hope they can solidify everything and get it done because I'd really love to go back there. I'm going to go back there regardless.
Right. That's just going to be so fun.
It is. It really is. Yeah, the Scottish paranormal guys are really helping them out with. We had a discussion on Zoom, and we said we were talking, and the Scottish paranormal guys were saying, "Well, no, you can't go to that castle. They don't allow ghost hunting in there." And they're more and more back and forth. And then they were saying, "How about if we go over here and go over there and go over here?" I said, "Hey guys, do them a favor, will you?" And they said, "Sure." And I said, "Would you figure out the shortest way to go from one to the next, because it looks like we're going," because they had the map up. I said, "It looks like we're going past some places and then coming back to them." I said, could we, maybe figure out the route that would be the most beneficial for everybody?
Yes.
And the Haunted Journeys people, they're very cool. They said, "Yeah, that'd be a great idea." So, come on, they're there. They know it. It's like asking somebody in your neighborhood how to get to your house. They know it.
That's just so fun. And they're just going to make that that much better experience.
Yeah. The girl told me too. She goes, "Yes, and don't worry, I'll tell the people that if we're not on the tour or anything, just give you your free space." I said, "Oh, you don't have to do that." Right? She goes, "Why not?" I said, "I love people. I'll hang out with them. I got no problem with that."
She hasn't sat down with you very much, has she?
I've never met her in person. She has just seen me on Facebook and different places, and so she knows how much I love Scotland. And fortunately, I have enough of a name for that. You know what I mean?
Yes. Well, I am so excited for you being able to do that. I hope it all pans out and it goes perfectly. And I hope I'm there.
Me too. I mean, that is really cool. I've had several people tell me they'd be interested in going.
Well, I think you've piqued everyone's interest, so, we all know what you do. We all know that you have fun, and we all know the various experiences that you get. So, who wouldn't want
Well,
to go?
if there's any spirits there that want to come out and play, they will when we're there, because Scottish Paranormal gets tons of stuff. I get stuff all the time. There's times when I've had absolutely nothing happen, though, which means either things don't want to come out and play or they're not there, you know?
Well, I think they get to go and do things.
Well, you know, they might have a convention or something they're at. You never know. I mean, I've seen all these ghost conventions, you know, actually publicized, like on Facebook and stuff, and every time I've ever gone, there were no ghosts there. It's other ghost hunting groups. You know.
Yeah. Well, we have another question, and then we're going to have to start wrapping it up. But what was the first movie you were in ever?
First movie I was ever in was called Lone Wolf McQuade,
that was
which was a Chuck Norris movie.
Chuck Norris, okay.
And it had David Carradine. It had David Carradine. It had Barbara Hershey. And I got killed.
Well, of course you did.
For a long time, my whole role was to live through a movie, and I don't think it's happened yet. And it certainly didn't happen in Hatchet 2. If any people have seen Hatchet 2, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
When you take a chainsaw to the crotch and the chainsaw comes out the top of your head, you're pretty much dead. You ain't going to survive that one.
Well, and, you know, that scene is also in that clip. And I was just like, oh, how did they even do that? I mean, I get taken aback by the actual, you know, logistics of the stunts, but...
Well, Adam Green was the director of, you know, the Hatchet movies.
Yes.
And he was also the writer. And, I mean, he comes up with some really hellacious stuff. And I think that rat, Kane Hodder, helps him, too, because he likes to kill people in real unusual ways. And
he takes that seriously.
And my friend Robert Pendergraft, who's also in my group, does the special effects stuff for it. So, like a big family. But Adam Green, by the way, has done a lot of really good movies like Frozen, Digging Up the Marrow, you know, other movies. Frozen is one of the most underrated movies I think I've ever seen.
Frozen is
so, and I'm not talking about the one with the princesses in them and stuff.
Yeah, it is astounding. And
yeah, I mean that is freaky scary, that movie.
Well, and I worry about, you know, hanging out with people that create stuff like that. Because somewhere in those minds, there's something a little bit twisted. And I like twisted people, so it's not a big deal, but scary twisted is kind of something else.
Twisted people are my peeps.
Yes, they are.
Somebody asked me on a radio show, they said, well, what is it like ghost hunting with Jason and Leatherface? I said, no. I said, we'll be walking down a real dark corridor, kind of creepy looking and stuff. I said, I'll be walking ahead of them looking at stuff, and then I'll realize that Jason and Leatherface are right behind me, and this is probably not going to end well for me.
Well, we have a correction. She meant the last movie.
What was the last movie I was in?
Yeah.
Oh, boy. What was it? I don't really remember what it was.
Well, it hasn't been that long ago.
No, but I've done a couple that haven't come out or things like that. Right. Just trying to think what it might have been. Best way is to look it up on IMDb, and then that'll tell you. Yes. But I've done other movies, like I did J. Edgar with Clint Eastwood. What other ones have I done here? Hold on, I'm going back into my back room in here, and I can tell you. Maybe I can think of it. Dark Wolf, I played.
Or whatever and a half.
Okay. Well, I did Dark Wolf. I played the Dark Wolf. Ground Zero, I helped write that one and was in it. Project Metal Beast, Lone Wolf McQuade, Deep Star 6, Naked Gun 33, The Devil's Rejects. What else? Forever Together, Hatchet 1, 2, 3, and 4, Dead on Sight, Baywatch Nights, The Patriot, Fallen Angels, House Part 2, Off I worked on for a couple of years. In the Shadows, Someone's Watching. That's some of the ones I have on my wall, but that's not the latest one. I'm trying to think of what the heck the latest one was. Oh, well.
Well, I'm sitting here looking, and as far as releases, stunt coordinator on Acts of Desperation, and then The Bullet, you did stunts. Victor Crowley. And you've done the video for the game on Friday the 13th. I mean, you do everything, and you do so many stunts as well as performances. And
yeah, that's why when I get up to go to the bathroom at night, it sounds like Rice Krispies that I'm walking on. Burglary is not in my future.
No, probably not. But good thing is you don't need it. So,
well, unless things start happening, I might.
Denise says, just don't wear high heels and you're fine.
Wait a minute. Was she looking at me last night? Saturday.
Did you get no, it wasn't. Yes, it was. Did you get the Did you get the Cinderella dress out?
Well, of course, it was Saturday. Don't be ridiculous.
Well, we are so way over, but I'm having so much fun talking to you that we are going to have to go. I am so glad that you came on tonight, and I'm so proud of you for your book.
Well, like I said, it's you made it better.
Thank you.
As a matter of fact, the first 2 pages are better. The cover is better, and the dedication is better. Or the foreword, is better.
Thanks. The cover
you got it off to a rousing start.
Yes. The cover is better, though.
It is. Undoubtedly better.
But it was good to start with. But that
this is better.
The tweak just needed to be there. But
yes.
I appreciate y'all and everybody in chat. Thank you so much for being here. I know that y'all love him. So, Sherry said good night. Fantastic show. Thank you. So,
all right. Bye, Kat.
Thank you, April. So, I am just thrilled, and I know that these people are tired. And if y'all could just say a prayer for April. She's got some stuff grooving, and that's all just April. God knows who she is. So, thank you so much. Denise has a show tomorrow night, and I absolutely did not write that down. Let's see. I'm so sorry, Denise. Nothing like dead air, right? But with Rosella C. Rowe. Oh, I like her. That's going to be good. All right. So that will be tomorrow night on the Paranormal Pride. I have Jason Hewlett coming on with me from We Want to Believe. That is his new show. That he's a journalist, a broadcaster, and a podcaster. And he is the lead investigator and society director for Vancouver Paranormal Society. And he is getting it done. So I love talking to people who are having such a good time with their stuff. So that'll be fun. And their show is not just ghosts. It's everything, really. It's haunting, spectral encounters, Bigfoot, UFO sightings, no false evidence, no camera tricks or special events. What you see is raw and intact, he says. So that's going to be fun. I like that. So I will see y'all tomorrow night with Paranormal Pride. Thank you so much for joining us. And Rick, thank you so much for being here.
Oh, you know how much I love talking to you.
I know. And to actually do it on the air is fun too. So that's a good thing as well. I love our friendship. It's awesome. So thank you again. Y'all come back. And just remember, times are strange. And if you don't like the world you're living in, then change it. It's really simple. It's just we have the power within us to focus our energy. We can make changes. We can do all the things that kind of can affect our environment. We can just be focused on ourselves, making ourselves better, be a friend that we'd like to have, or a spouse that you would like to have. There's just so many different ways that you can reach out. You can just, pay for the coffee of the person coming behind you or something. I mean, it's just something that puts a little positive something out into the world. And that is amazing. Rick, I know that you do that. You are always about being kind. And I admire that about you. So
that's why we're friends, because you're the same way.
I am the same way, and it is a lot of why we're friends, because we recognize that. So, I think that's important. But anyway, just do it. I mean, I know with the masks, it's hard for people to know you're smiling, but eyes are where the smiles come from. Eyes are where your light comes from. They do know. They recognize you. Use that. And so thank you again so much. Y'all take care of each other. And we will see you next week here on Fate Mag Radio. Good night.
You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk, only on Paranormal Experience Radio. Broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama.